Well, here I am again, which no surprise since this is my YouTube channel, but I figured that on this Good Shepherd Sunday, also known as the day of World Prayer for Vocations, that I might share my vocation story with you, since this is one of the vocations we're praying for. So, just a reminder, my name is Sister Desiree. I am a Felician sister. We are one of many Franciscan communities out there. And my vocation started in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where I grew up. I went to school out there, was going to college, and ever since I was little had kind of thought religious life sounded intriguing. But I went to public school, didn't really know any sisters, so it didn't get much further than religious life sounded cool. That was about it. When I went to college, I had a friend who actually was my Spanish teacher, but we were pretty close in age, and I decided that she was really cool and should be my friend. So we became friends, and she invited me on a pilgrimage, which I didn't really understand much about at the time. I knew a pilgrimage was kind of like some sort of religious thing, but she came at it from the cultural aspect, being my former Spanish teacher, talked about how we would walk through some pretty historic towns and villages of New Mexico, through some pueblos and some very historic churches, that we would be singing in Spanish and praying in Spanish. We'd go to Mass every day. She knew I was Catholic, and I just thought that sounded really nice. So I signed up for it, and it turned out it was 100 miles, and we were going to walk 100 miles. So I said, well, I like to walk, I can do it. And I also found out that it was a pilgrimage to pray for, guess what, vocations. So I was really surprised by that. I had no idea what we were going to be praying for, but when I learned it was vocations, I asked her if she knew that I'd kind of thought religious life was admirable. And she did not. She just said, well, I thought it was something you'd like, but there happened to be some sisters on the pilgrimage, so maybe you can talk to them. I was really excited by that because I never really had a chance to talk with sisters, so I thought, definitely, I'm going to talk with those nuns, which there is a difference between sisters and nuns. A lot of people use it interchangeably, including sisters, but typically it's different. So nuns, this is a side note, nuns are women who live in community, but mostly in a monastic sense, so they don't usually go out. They live in a cloister. There's maybe one nun who's called the extern, who answers the door, answers phone calls, does the shopping for the sisters and things like that. Religious sisters live more of an outside active life, so we serve in schools or hospitals, we travel, live in different places, so there's a difference. While we maybe live in community like nuns do, we pray together, have Mass every day. It's a different pace and style of life. So back to the main road. I met these sisters on the pilgrimage, and they were Felician sisters. I had never heard of them, but it turned out they lived like 15 minutes from my mom's house. So I decided I was going to get to know them better and visit them. And when I asked if I would be allowed to do that, they said absolutely. Little did I know they were probably plotting to recruit me. I'm just kidding. Well, they probably were, but I was really excited. I had never really been to a convent, so I was happy to see where they lived and what they did. And the more I got to know them, the more it just felt like I was home. And I was dating at the time, so yes, I did have a boyfriend. Actually, I had a couple, not at the same time, but I did date, okay? I wasn't like ready to be a sister as soon as I was in this world. So I had to try and figure out what I was going to do, because I was really drawn to this thing called religious life. I found a piece at the convent that I'd never really found anywhere else, and I thought, I think I have to check it out. And the more the sisters got to know me and they got to know that I was a dancer and things like that, they asked if I would do a liturgical dance of sorts, which I'd actually never heard of, and I didn't know that dance could be a prayer. but I had been dancing pretty much my whole life. Done 7 years of ballet, danced in high school, coached the dance team when I graduated from high school, and also danced for a semi-professional basketball team. So I love to dance, but I didn't know that it could be more than just entertainment. So when I did this prayerful dance in one of their Jubilee celebrations, which was honoring sisters who had been in the convent for like 50, 60 years, I realized then that I was using my gifts and talents for entertainment, and that there could be so much more meaning to them than that. And I thought, that's what I want. That's what I want for not just the things that I enjoy doing, but for my whole life. I want this meaning to be my whole life. And I said to myself, while I really care about the guy that I'm dating and I could see myself with him, I also thought, this place has helped me to find meaning in ways that I have not. And if these women are going to be able to help me do that and help me to find God in what I'm doing and share God in what I'm doing, then maybe this is where I need to be. So I also realized, maybe I'd enter and maybe it wouldn't work out and I could always leave. And, it wasn't like as soon as I said, yes, let's do this, that it was forever. It was, let's discern. So that was it. I asked what was next, and I started the process to formally consider myself affiliated with the community as a candidate, and spent a year as a candidate living on my own, but still in touch with the sisters. But this was after probably 2 years of getting to know them, so it wasn't immediate. It was a little bit of a gradual process. So a couple years while I was in college is when I visited the sisters, and then after I graduated is when I made the choice to enter. So actually I was, 22 when I chose to apply for candidacy, and as I kept going, I just felt like this is where God's inviting me, and I could feel this sense of peace, like I said, which is really important, as I mentioned in my discernment chat. Is important when you're trying to find what God is inviting you to. That's usually where you're going to find that peace. And so all the tension that I'd had in my dating relationships, it just disappeared, and the confidence that I never knew I lacked suddenly started to grow within me, and my life and everything that I had wanted to have purpose, it had purpose. And I'm surprised, even still when dance, I see it just transform lives, and I'm like, what, seriously? But that's what I wanted. I wanted everything I did to have that depth of meaning, and it's continued to be that way for me in religious life. And that's why in August I chose to make my final vows, because I just thought, I continue to see growth, I continue to see purpose and meaning, I continue to be at peace even when I'm troubled or the world is troubled. There's still this underlying peace. And so that's why I chose this vocation, which God kind of chose for me, but invited me to, and I decided to say yes.